It's okay. All good things are left behind in the endgame of this week's
Initial thoughts. Part one. Initial thoughts. Part one. Initial thoughts.
Hello, Best of Trekkers! I've sent the purple version of me back to his reality by shoving some muon rods in his fissure. It's the end of an era as we talk the series finale of Lower Decks, the new Next Generation. I'm going to start this decent finale with a dislike. The whole Klingon plot felt shoehorned in here to add stakes to the plot. Sure, it's a writing means to an end for Ma'a to regain the captain's chair, but it really felt superfluous. Now, that being said, I have a great big like for the Fisher turning the opening Klingon ship into a Discovery-era ship, with Disco-era Klingons. After the credits that I was mildly disappointed didn't do anything extra to the battle scene, there's the first of a blink and you'll miss it Guji appearance, walking with a Benzite. I have a like for the choice of this multiple window shot of the Cerritos. But as for Guji, he's been a bit of a Where's Waldo this season, just popping up in the background randomly. In fact, we see him 3 times in this episode. This opening scene, the engineering scene when Mariner finally does some technobabble to stabilize the Fisher, and the obvious one when we're saying goodbye to characters over Mariner's monologue at the end. In the mess hall, I have a like for the love of Shax and Ta'ana taking center stage, in the form of their love of weird holodeck kinks. Meanwhile, Tendi and T'Lyn are doing Technobabble senior science officer stuff, Rutherford hates the Cerritos, and we come back to where we left off in the last episode with Boimler getting the message from William Boimler. Okay, I've got a dislike for Rutherford's plotline here. I've been quite frustrated with the use, or lack thereof, for his character this entire season. He's given nothing meaningful to do for 10 episodes, and we finish the series by going against everything we know about his character's pure love of engineering, hating the Cerritos, even if it is to pay off losing the implant by the end of the episode. Eugene Cordero's star has been on the rise since the show started, and he's been involved in other projects, so I hope that's the reason he was kind of written out this season. Let's go from bad character development to a like for Captain Freeman's development through the series. She went from sure of herself to trust in her junior officers even when they come to her with crazy circumstances. She went from one of the more incompetent captains we'd ever seen to, as Boimler puts it, man, that's good captaining. I'm going to give a second like for something I was really hoping to see in this final episode. The evolution in the relationship between mother and daughter. In episode 1, she clearly didn't even want Mariner on her ship. Now she's willing to go to bat for her no matter what. And similarly, Mariner has become a more calm and collected, fully rounded individual, capable of a real bond with her mom. It was nice how this finale called back to various characters and plots that had been set up throughout the season. Since we're on the edge of Klingon space for this universe-ending event, Ma'a shows up running from Relga. There's a callback of Malor saying in the intro about Kales making another appearance, which references the TNG episode Rightful Heir. After Freeman agrees to asylum, Relga and her baby Targ doot show up to add more action to the plot. When Starfleet is briefing them on how to seal the anomaly, they show renditions of what various races might turn into in the Schrödinger possibility field. And it appears Vulcans might turn into Christmas elves, and Klingons have their own evolution to salamander-type creatures, with humans becoming cactus people. As they approach the anomaly, I have a like for Carol saying, "All hands, brace for weird." This is absolutely perfect for most episodes of Lower Decks, but definitely describes the transformations about to happen. Okay, friends, welcome to Callback City. I'm almost certain I've missed something here, but the Cerritos turns into a single nacelle Freedom class, a Terran Empire Cali class with Reliant-style roll bar bridge and Sovereign class nacelles, later going full Sovereign class, Oberth, Galaxy, Miranda, and it appears to be an Ambassador class at one point on the engineering display behind Rutherford. I have a like for one of the Klingon ships turning into the Barge of the Dead from the Voyager episode of the same name. That wood sailing ship certainly sent an entire crew directly to Grethor. During all the chaos, Ma'a has Boimler's alt-universe red pad, which tells him that Mariner hid Malor in that reality. I have a like for Boimler just breaking the pad without hesitation to back up his best friend Mariner. Just because crazy Captain Becky did a thing doesn't mean this Mariner did. In fact, it was Ransom here. And not only that, but his crazy amounts of working out have finally paid off as he's able to stop a Klingon in his tracks one-handed. I have a like for Ta'ana thinking they need to come up with some kind of sneaky, underhanded Kirk-style trick to beat the Klingons. I was thinking that when they were surrounded by Relga's squadron, that they needed some kind of Corbomite maneuver to play. I have another like coming back to Ollie and her Zeus powers to remove the Klingon shielding protecting them from the uncertainty phenomenon. That does the trick, turning Baby Targ into a mollusk and the warriors into proto-Klingons we saw back in TNG's Genesis. As they get almost all the way to the heart of the rift, the visuals are very reminiscent of Stamets navigating the mycelial network, getting back from the mirror universe. All our main characters provide some piece of the puzzle to closing this, as Rutherford renounces his implant, which causes Livik to finally be jealous and in awe of his engineering ability. Tendi and T'Lyn go all science besties, which gets a like. And finally, Mariner comes up with the last piece of unsaid technobabble to juice the warp core and stabilize the quantum tear rather than closing it. Now Starfleet has access to a permanent door to the multiverse, which leads me to a like for now moving Starbase 80 here to be the Babylon 5 of the multiverse, since for technobabble reasons, its old technology won't be affected by the portal. I have a like for Boimler bookending the series by recording a log, as he did back at the beginning of Second Contacts. That was one of the major things I felt that this episode needed going into it. What I was originally going to give a like to has shifted in my mind to a dislike for bringing the Enterprise E and possibly the Titan, though we can't see any other registrations, to the afterparty and not getting a single former TNG cast member making any kind of cameo. Ma'a gets his command back, the Anaximander comes home, and the galaxy is back to normal. I have a like for Mariner's final monologue, and I have a like for Delta Shift playing poker over it, and one of them even wearing the Choo Choo t-shirts from Season 1. Also, during this hopeful exposition, we see the once merged Schwale Schwalen's friends and Nurse Westlake. And Ascended Guy apparently ended his time as pure energy, falling out of a rift into sickbay. Nice touch there, but I've also got a dislike here for bringing back twaining. I hated it the first time, and of all the callbacks to choose from, this one could have been done without. The girls that set their intentions in wax get really excited, lighting an anaphasic ghost candle, like we saw in Sub Rosa. As Captain Freeman departs for her new assignment heading up missions to the multiverse, Captain Jack Ransom now sits in the captain's chair and has a decision to make. It felt weird to spend so much time on this thing making Mariner and Boimler both co-first officers. The idea of a co-position is probably a bad choice on its own, but spending time on what feels like setup for the future, I hope means we get at least a movie out of this someday. And lastly, Ransom's warp command is dumb. Like, not even so bad it's good for a laugh kind of dumb. And that's it. This thing came to an end. I have thoroughly enjoyed Lower Decks over the past 5 seasons, but I do think it was time to end. The season as a whole mostly felt pretty mediocre, giving off Season 7 TNG vibes, signaling the end. And, to some degree, this finale feels like an extension of that mediocrity. This is certainly a better finale than TOS or Enterprise ever got, but I'm not wowed the way I was by last episode's setup, or like I am by the finales of TNG, DS9, or Voyager. It's merely above average and serviceable. I look forward to seeing these characters again in any form, even a cameo somewhere in live action or something. We'll likely have a lot more to say about this finale on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on the live show Buffer Time. Come chat with me and other Trek YouTubers about your thoughts on Lower Decks. This initial thought series is now on indefinite hiatus. We know we'll be getting Strange New Worlds at some point in 2025, but that's likely it. Next year is shaping up to be the least Star Trek we've had on our screens than any time in the last 4 years. But we do have 2 new shows in the pipeline for the future, and I'm looking forward to it all. Until I see you again, I've been your host, Dustin Wing.